David Foremost, presidential candidate, video 3. Okay, now, on top, that's like if you retire, you can retire at age 30 after 50 years, after you work, after at age 50. You get a card where being everybody gets paid by the federal government. Most of your stuff will get paid. Most of the stuff's already paid by the federal government, but like your taxes and most of your stuff will get paid with this card you get after you work for 30 years. Your taxes or your groceries when you go to the grocery store or your rent or stuff like that will be paid with this card that you get because you worked for 30 years. That stuff will get paid. Or like a social worker, that's labor grade 2. That's a $200 an hour job. Or if you have a special needs kid, Illinois just laid off a bunch of special needs teachers. The federal government will hire them back at $200 an hour. This money comes from nowhere, so we won't worry about the how much it costs. Then we won't pay it back to nobody because it comes from nobody. So the special needs kids will get maybe a one-on-one teacher. Okay, a secretary, that's a $200 an hour job. A waitress in a restaurant is a $200 an hour job. Okay, because all these places get paid by the federal government. There'll be a wage price freeze, so they won't be able to gouge you on the prices. They won't be able to raise the salaries, but they won't be able to raise the prices either. And on down the line, if for some reason prices go up for whatever reason, that's like if Saudi Arabia raises the prices or whoever raises the prices, they will be able to raise the pay scales. I call them pay scale. So you will be able to raise the pay scale if need be. Okay, okay, maybe a cook might be a $300 an hour, depending on if they were restaurant. A waitress in a higher pay scale restaurant may be higher. In New York City, it may be necessary that these prices may be higher in a local area where wages or where everything costs more. It may be necessary that these pay scales are higher in a local area, like in areas where they have a natural disaster, where things happen. It may be necessary where you go in and build like California when they have an earthquake and they have to build all them overpasses. It would only seem obvious that you pay construction workers to build the best stuff possible that they have to build rather than building defective stuff or doing cheap stuff. You should pay them to build the best stuff possible to replace it. Or like in other places, if you have like they pay people to put out fires, they should pay people to drill wells in California or to build a factory to build equipment to build wells. People that drive trucks are $300 an hour. They could put 3 people in a cab to drill wells for water in California for the people without wells. And they could put people in cabs to haul pipe for the wells. I read this off the top of my mind. I don't have it rehearsed. I sort of sit here with my eyes shut and sort of think to myself what I want to say next. I've thought ahead of what I want to say, but sometimes I don't remember what I want to say. Disasters that pay for if your house burnt, they'd make an interest-free loan for your house where you would not pay back until the house wore out. Or whatever kind of natural disaster destroyed your house, the federal government make interest-free loans for natural disasters, whatever the natural disaster, tornadoes. If a tornado destroyed your house, you get an interest-free loan to replace it. The city workers, $300 an hour. If a water line blew up in front of your house, or if the city had to replace all the water lines in the city, they could hire construction workers at $300 an hour and have the construction company come in and replace all the water lines in the city, or they could hire their own workers and 60-40, $300 an hour or higher. In New York City, it may cost more than $300 an hour to replace water lines, though the pay scale may be higher. It depends on what the city decided, whether it had to be a higher pay scale. It'd be up to the city or whoever does it. I wouldn't be a penny pincher. If it costs more, it costs more. This money comes from nowhere. But it's whatever whoever does it decides. It'd be you have a Department of War, mine be a Department of Peace. And because it comes from nowhere, it comes from nowhere and you wouldn't pay it back. It makes no sense. When money comes from nowhere, you'd pay it back to nowhere. Before during World War II, the money came from nowhere. The whole planet went into war, and they didn't borrow money from anybody. It makes no sense to pay it back to nobody. The $1 trillion we're in debt, although they shuffled the money around, we really didn't borrow from anybody. It makes no sense to pay it back to nobody. It's like the government sort of scamming us. It's like a big scam. They say we're $1 trillion in debt. I don't have $1 trillion to pay money back to anybody. If you're a construction worker and earn borrowed money, when that money gets paid back, you really don't have money back to pay interest or anything else. But I think that's the end of this ad, so I'll see you later. Bye. President David Farmhouse, presidential candidate, FORMHALS. Look up my ad. Now I have it in green energy and clean energy. My ad for perpetual energy or how to generate electricity using gravity. Thank you. Bye.